Hello, listeners. How are you doing today? I hope you're doing fine. Welcome back to Luke's English podcast. So, animals. What do you know about animals? Do you know how to talk about animals in English? Do you know the various bits of vocabulary that we use to talk about these creatures that we share our world with? For example, do you know the answers to these questions? First of all, what does a male lion have around its neck? What do you call all the hair that a male lion has around its neck? What kind of feet does a deer or a horse have? What kind of an animal is a frog or a newt? What sound does a frog make in English? Where do wolves, foxes, and lions sleep? What about bees? Where do we keep them? Where do we keep bees? What do snakes and fish have on their skin? And what word describes animals that come out at night? Could you answer questions like that? And do you think you know as much animal vocabulary as my 6-year-old daughter? Well, in this episode, you can learn over 60 items of vocabulary related to animals. And since we're talking about animals, this episode also features a conversation with my daughter. Not that she's an animal, although maybe she is. She is a human after all. Now, my daughter, at the time of the recording, which was late last year, she was 6 years old. So she was 6 when we recorded this episode together. Now, long-term listeners will probably already be a bit familiar with her, because she's been on the podcast a few times before with little clips that I've played during rambling episodes over the last few years. In fact, she was first on the podcast just a few days after she was born. You can hear her making little noises in the background of some episodes, including number 502, which is called The Birth of My Daughter, where my wife and I talked about, the birth of our daughter. And since then, she's also appeared at various times. And if you've been listening, you've been able to track the development of her English, right? She is bilingual. She speaks French and English. And now she's 6. In fact, she's 7 now because she had her birthday fairly recently. So now it's wonderful because we can have pretty much full conversations. She's able to express herself very well. She knows quite a lot about the world around her and has plenty of vocabulary now, which is great. Her brother, on the other hand, is only 18 months old, and his vocabulary is limited to a few words at this point, namely the words car, the word ball, and the word poo-poo, and things like that. So it's pretty basic. But my daughter, on the other hand, you can actually have a proper conversation with her now. So I was looking for a way to include my daughter in another episode of the podcast, and I thought that the subject of animals would be a good one. Kids love animals, and they seem to know quite a lot about them. So she has books about animals. She watches some animal documentaries on TV. We like to watch the David Attenborough ones, you know. And generally, she's interested in a lot of animal-related things like most children. So I thought that we could talk about animals, and specifically I wanted to explore various bits of vocabulary relating to animals. And I thought of this because in one of my English lessons the other day, a question came up about the different words that we use to describe animals' feet. We have different words for animals' feet, different words for different animals. For example, which animals have feet, which animals have paws, and which animals have hooves. And also, what about talons, flippers, and fins? And by the way, all these words and the answers to those questions I asked you before, they're all going to come up during the episode. So all this stuff made me think that there is quite a lot of specific vocab relating to animals. So that's what we could focus on. So what you're going to hear is my daughter and me taking an animal vocabulary quiz with various questions about different words for animals, animal parts, where they live, what they do, the sounds they make, words for groups of animals, and plenty more. And I'm sure that there's a lot of vocabulary for you to pick up from this. In fact, there are over 60 items of vocab for you to learn. Some of them, no doubt, you will know already. In that case, good for you. Give yourself a slap on the back for being so clever. But do you know them all? And crucially, do you know more than a 6-year-old child? And if you don't, if my daughter gets more questions right than you, then don't worry. because I have been training her quite hard in the ways of the English language. She is my protege or Padawan learner, so I've been trying to train her in the ways of English. So if she beats you in the test, don't feel too bad. So we recorded this one afternoon at the end of last year when she was off school. She was at home because she was a little bit ill. She was a bit sick with flu. She was fine, but she wasn't really ready to go back to class. So I was staying at home with her, and we decided that we could do this quiz as a way to entertain ourselves and record a podcast at the same time. So you might hear that she has a slightly blocked up nose. Apologies if that is obvious, and you might hear the occasional sniff or sniffle from her, but I think it's not too bad. I edited out the moments when she coughed slightly, so it should be fine. Now, you'll find all the questions and answers to this quiz on the episode page on my website, by the way. Also, keep listening because I will sum up a lot of the vocabulary that you'll hear during this conversation at the end of the episode. I'll do another mini quiz as a vocab review so you can check what you remember. So if this episode is long, that's the reason. It's going to be half the conversation with my daughter and then half vocabulary review stuff. If you're watching the video version of this episode on YouTube, you'll see that there is no video for the part with my daughter. We just recorded audio, but you will see text and pictures on the screen. So keep watching. You'll see stuff happening on the screen to help you. If you're just listening to the audio version, then on the page for this episode on my website, you will find all the quiz questions, their answers, a list of all the vocabulary in my vocab review at the end, some pictures to help you, and a vocab quiz with answers so you can see what you've learned in the episode. Actually, I think it will all be on a PDF, in fact. In any case, you'll find a link in the description to where you can find all of that stuff. So then, without further ado, let's get into this animal vocabulary quiz and conversation with my daughter. And here we go. Right. So, what's the situation today?
We're going to talk about animals.
That's right, but I was going to say first, what's been going on today at home? Why are you at home? Why aren't you at school?
Because I'm sick.
Are you feeling okay at this moment?
Yes.
Okay, good. But just possibly a slightly blocked up nose?
Yes.
All right, so we're going to do an animals vocabulary quiz. A quiz about animals, right? You ready?
Yes.
Animals. Are you an animal?
No.
No? Aren't you?
Yes.
What kind of animal are you?
When I didn't exist, I was a monkey. What?
Wait a minute. When you didn't exist, you were a monkey. What do you mean?
Well, when I wasn't in here, the other people who were before me were monkeys.
Oh, I see. Right. You mean that you are descended from... Well, humans. You're a human.
But some of the monkeys lived on the trees, and so they were easily dead, and
No, this is good. Go
and the other ones who decided to go on the ground easily saw things, so they could run away.
Yeah, this is a sort of version of the theory of evolution that you've kind of heard from me, but not entirely understood. But that's all right. But yeah, you are an animal. You're a human being. Oh. Yeah, humans are animals as well, but we're different from other animals, aren't we?
Yes, because we don't look like an animal.
Really? I don't know.
We don't have pointy ears.
This is true. Anyway, let's not...
And we don't have claws or hooves. We only have hands, like the monkeys.
And feet.
And feet, like the monkeys.
That's right. Okay, right. Let me
So we kind of in the family of the monkeys.
Yes, this is true. We are sort of in a large family with monkeys.
Yeah.
We're in a closer family with apes.
What are apes?
Apes are large animals like us that have hands and feet and opposable thumbs. And we all evolved from a common ancestor
But we can't talk to each other.
We can't talk. Well, you can talk to some apes. Some chimpanzees, for example, orangutans, are intelligent enough to use language. And some people have taught chimpanzees, for example, to communicate with a basic form of sign language. That's interesting, isn't it? So you can talk to some of them.
But I didn't know that we could talk to some of them, but I did know that we can do hand language.
Right, like sign language. Yes. Now, they can't actually have a chat with you.
Yes.
You can't be like, hi, Mr. Chimpanzee, how are you? And they're like, oh, I'm fine, thanks. You know, you can't have a conversation with them. But it is possible to communicate with them.
Yes.
Anyway, right, so what I'd like to do with this is to help my listeners to learn some vocabulary to describe animals, okay? And I thought that you could help me. And we're going to do that by doing this quiz. I'm going to ask you some questions. Let's see if you can answer the questions and perhaps explain what some of the words mean. Right, so are you ready? I've actually got 4 rounds to this quiz. I'm not sure we'll do all of it. We'll see how we go. Are you ready for round 1?
Yes.
Okay. So round 1 is in a few different parts. Part 1 is multiple choice. You have to choose the correct answer. Choose the correct answer. So, which of these animals is an amphibian?
What's the amphibian?
An amphibian is a type of animal. So there are 6 basic animal groups. Okay, animals can be put into 6 basic groups: invertebrates, fish, amphibians, reptiles, birds, and mammals. And amphibians are animals that can live in the water or they can live on the land. They can sort of live in both situations.
Okay, so it's a lizard and a frog.
Newts and frogs and toads.
Yes.
And maybe some other things, like maybe salamander, I think, is an amphibian.
I think
might be wrong. Let me check. Is a salamander an amphibian or a reptile? They're amphibians. Yes, amphibians are frogs, toads, newts, and salamanders. So there you go. Most amphibians have complex life cycles with time on land and in the water, so they live in both situations. Their skin has to stay wet to absorb oxygen, and so they don't have scales on their skin. Reptiles include turtles, snakes, lizards, alligators, and crocodiles. Anyway, back to the quiz. So, which of these animals is an amphibian? Is it a dolphin, a frog, an owl, a lizard?
A frog.
A frog is the correct answer. Well done. That's 1 point to you. Do you know what these other ones are? What groups these other animals belong to? Dolphin? Which one do you think that is?
Fish?
No, it's not a fish. But tell me why you thought it was a fish.
Because it somehow looks like a fish.
Yes, it does look a bit like a fish. They have fins and they swim underwater. They live in the ocean.
Yes, and also they have a tail like the fish.
This is correct, but actually...
But they don't have any scales.
Correct, and they also don't have something very important for fish that helps them to breathe. Do you know what that is?
No.
So fish have these little sort of openings on the side of their head or body. They're called gills, and fish use gills to breathe underwater. But dolphins don't have gills.
But there's a animal, not kind of a animal, who doesn't exist. A mermaid.
Who says they don't exist? Are you sure? Yeah, they don't exist. But, maybe once upon a time they did. There are legends about them. Anyway, a dolphin is a mammal, right? Because actually dolphins breathe like us. They have lungs like us. We're mammals as well. Dolphins breathe...
Yeah, I knew that we're mammals.
Yeah.
But we're not birds, we're not reptiles, we're not invertebrates or fish or amphibians.
No.
But we're mammals.
We are mammals.
Like the monkeys.
So when we...
And the mouse and the cat.
Yes. When we have babies, we don't lay eggs. Like a lot of these other groups of animals lay eggs, but humans don't. Neither do dolphins, cats, rats.
But, these
Yes.
these birds lay eggs.
Yeah.
Reptiles
Lay eggs.
lay eggs. Amphibians lay eggs.
Fish.
Fish lay eggs.
They lay eggs. Yeah.
Invertebrate. I don't know how to say.
Invertebrates.
Yes. Do they lay eggs?
This is a very good question. Do invertebrates lay eggs? All the species that belong to invertebrates have their own life cycle. All invertebrates lay eggs. And the eggs of some species directly hatch into an adult, and some enter into the larvae stage and then move to an adult. So,
they don't go into a baby?
So, some invertebrates lay eggs and those eggs hatch into babies. Others are like insects. Insects, what they do is they have two stages. They've got the larvae stage and then the sort of fully grown stage. So a butterfly, before it becomes a butterfly, it is a...
Caterpillar.
Caterpillar, exactly. You know that from that book, The Very Hungry Caterpillar.
And also before the book.
Yeah, you knew that without the book, yeah.
Yeah.
So they're caterpillars, they go around, they hatch from a little egg, they go around eating.
Then they find this kind of...
Well, they build a pupa around themselves.
And then they stay there for a bit, and then they open, and then they are a butterfly.
That's right, they open out and Bob's your uncle. So a dolphin is a mammal, frog is an amphibian, an owl is a kind of... What? A fish or?
No, a bird.
A bird, right.
A fish. I didn't know owls were fish.
They're not fish.
I know.
Owls.
They're birds.
Yes. That's my owl impression.
I don't have any.
Yeah, you do.
That's pigeon.
Yeah, that's right. Something like that. And then lizard. Okay, fine, we understand. It's difficult to do an impression of a lizard. What do? They just stick their tongue out. Yeah. Second question out of a lot. Are you ready?
Yes.
Question number 2. What do you call the hard outer covering of a crab or a tortoise?
What's a
What? Hard outer covering?
Yeah.
So, what is a crab covered in? It's quite hard. Same as a tortoise has one of these. And
Shell?
a shell is the correct answer. Well done. That's a huge audience of people all applauding you. So the shell, that's right. A crab has a shell. Tortoise has a shell. Can you name another animal that has a shell?
Snail?
Snail. Very good. Extra bonus points for you there. So what are the other options? We've got fur, shell, scales, and hoof.
What's hoof?
Well, a hoof is the odd one out here because this is not something that covers an animal's body. A hoof is like the foot of a horse or the foot of a deer, right? One hoof, two hooves. But fur, what animals have fur?
It's the cats.
Yeah. Dogs.
Yeah, dogs. Then there's deers.
Deer. Not deers. 1 deer, 2 deer, 3 deer. Yeah. Exactly. They're covered in fur. Shell, we know. Scales. Can you tell me 2 animals that have scales on their skin?
Wait. Frog?
No.
No, I mean, I was going to say fish. Yes,
Fish. Yes, correct.
And snake.
Snake. Well done. Okay. Question number 3. Which of the following is a term for a group of lions? What do you call a group of lions? Wait a minute. Listen to all the options. Is it a pack of lions? Is it a herd of lions? Is it a pride of lions? Or is it a swarm of lions?
A pride of lions.
A pride of lions is the correct answer. Well done. Excellent. How did you know that?
Because in Le Roi Lion.
In Le Roi Lion? C'est quoi ça? Le Roi Lion.
It's a film.
It's a film. The Lion King.
Yeah.
They talk about that in The Lion King, do they? A pride of lions.
Yes.
Okay, great. It's the correct answer. Well done. This just shows that Disney cartoons can actually teach you things. A pack of what?
Horses?
No.
That's a herd of horses?
I suppose so.
What's a swarm?
Hold on. A pack of wolves,
Oh, yeah.
right? A herd of sheep. Is it a herd of horses? Hold on. Yeah, herd of horses is the most common name for a group of horses. Well done. A swarm is normally for insects, and a swarm is for a large number, normally of flying insects. So you could have a swarm of
Bees.
Bees. Bingo.
And also flies and also mosquitoes.
Yeah, that's right. Although they don't often come in swarms.
Yeah.
Do they? I suppose you could have them in a swarm.
And bees.
Swarm of bees is very common. Swarm of locusts.
What are locusts?
Locusts are things a bit like crickets or grasshoppers, right? And they fly in big swarms and they land in fields and they eat all the crops in the fields.
What are crops?
Crops are plants that grow that we use for food, right? Anyway, number 4. Are you ready? Yes?
Yes.
Good, because nodding your head is good for me, but the audience of people in podcast land can't hear you nodding. Maybe they can. Maybe they can. I don't know. How would they hear you nodding?
Yeah.
Just I don't know. Anyway, question 4. What is the name of the part of a bird used for flying?
Wings.
Wings. Yes.
I knew that already.
You did know that already. Yeah.
It's too easy.
I was going to say the part of the bird used for flying is surely it's the whole thing, right? The bird itself, the body. Wings is the correct answer. Well done. Other options include fins, talons, and antlers.
Yes.
Fins, we've talked about.
Yeah.
So fish, dolphins, they have fins. Talons.
What is talons?
Talons, you would
Are
find...
claws?
Claws, exactly.
But they don't fly.
Talons, well, some birds have talons, but they don't use the talons to fly. They use their wings and tail to
But
fly.
if I was an animal, I would kind of use my claws. I would do...
You'd use your talons for flying, would you?
I would try to.
Really? Okay, you'd have a... I tell you what, if you could do that, you would have a talon for flying with talons. That's called a dad joke. Right, antlers.
Antlers are this.
Yeah, which animals have antlers on their heads?
Ants.
Ants? Really?
Yeah.
Well, antlers is the word, but most ants don't have antlers.
Oh.
Some ants, well, some beetles might they might have horns, but no, antlers are things like deer, reindeer, for example. Have antlers. You know, think of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Him and his reindeer pals have big antlers on their heads, don't they? So those large horns, and he's got a red nose as well.
Because he was I know why, because he catch the cold.
Caught a cold.
Yeah, cold.
Is that why he's got a red nose?
Yes.
So he's working even though he's got a cold.
Yes.
Oh dear. Okay.
And also, his friends say he likes to drink a bit of water.
Water, is it?
I think so.
It's not like something else. He wouldn't be drinking like wine or
Maybe.
something to get a red nose.
I don't know.
I don't know either, to be honest. Anyway, what is a herbivore is question 5. What is a herbivore? Would you like the options or do you know already?
An animal that eats meat.
Well, that's the first option, but in these multiple choice things, don't just go for the first option every time, right? So is it A, an animal that eats meat? Is it B, an animal that eats plants? Is it C, an animal that eats both plants and meat? Or is it D, an animal that only eats insects? Now think of the word herbivore. The answer is in the word. Herb.
Oh, I know.
Go on.
It's actually an animal that eats plants.
Is the correct answer. Yes. It's an animal that eats plants. That's a herbivore. So things like sheep, cows, these are herbivores, right? Because they just eat grass mostly. Do you know the word for an animal that just eats meat?
No.
Carnivore.
Oh.
Right. And what about an animal that eats both plants and meat?
I don't know.
Omnivore.
No.
An omnivore.
And what's an animal that only eats insects?
You know what? I'm not sure. I think maybe an insectivore or something. Hold on. What? Let me just ask the internet. What do you call an animal that only eats insects? Insectivore. I was right. Yay. Okay, that's the end of part 1. Let's move on to part 2. Are you ready? You're doing well. I think you've got... Wait, did you get... You got 5 out of 5, didn't you?
Yes.
I'm not really keeping track,
Yes,
but
I did.
Yeah, you got 5
I got
out of
5
5.
out of 5.
Okay, decent. So part 2 is match the animal to its group name.
Okay.
So the group names include herd, swarm, pod, flock, and school.
School?
School, yeah.
School of dolphins?
A school of something, a herd of something, a swarm of something, a pod of something, and a
Pod?
Yeah, like pod.
A flock of something.
Flock.
Oh.
So here are the animals: bees, elephants, fish, dolphins, and sheep. So bees, you know this.
Bees are swarm.
A swarm of bees, correct. Elephants,
Herd?
a herd of elephants. Well done. Fish. This is the tricky one. There's a couple of words for fish.
Pod?
It's not a pod of fish, unfortunately.
Flock?
It's not a flock either.
School.
A school of fish. Yeah, we do say a school of fish. You can also say a shoal of fish, which is SHOAL, a shoal of fish or a school of fish. So if you're swimming in some beautiful water somewhere in some exotic place, you're snorkeling, you know, you've got your mask on and your snorkel and your flippers and you're swimming around and there are these shoals of beautiful tropical fish in the water. Or maybe if you go even deeper into the ocean, you see an entire school of fish in a big group, you know. So well done. Dolphins?
Or pod.
A pod of dolphins. We do say that. A pod of whales.
And sheep, it's a flock.
A flock of sheep. Well done. 4 out of 5 on that one. Part 3, fill in the blank. So, can you complete the sentences with the correct animal-related word? Number 1, a kangaroo. You know what a kangaroo is,
Yes.
right? Where do you find kangaroo?
Kangaroo in Australia.
In Australia. Yeah. It's amazing. You know stuff. You just know things. How do you know these things?
I don't know. I just guess.
I think it's because I told you, right? It's because
No.
everything you've learned, you learned from me, right? I
No.
taught you everything you know.
Some of them things I just guessed.
Okay. A kangaroo carries its baby in a what?
In a pocket?
This is good, but it's not exactly the right word.
I don't know.
It's a pouch.
Oh.
Pouch. Okay. Which is like a little pocket. Like you've got a kind of a pouch on the front of your hoodie here where you can put your hands in to keep them warm.
And I can touch my hands.
You can hold your hands together and keep them nice and warm in there. Number 2, owls have sharp claws called... we had this word already.
Really?
Yes. Talons.
Oh.
Talons, remember? Yeah. Okay. You doing all right? You're not getting tired?
Not really.
Okay. A snake's skin is covered in what?
Scales.
Sorry?
Scales.
Good.
That was easy.
Easy peasy. Yeah.
Okay, I can read this.
Go on
A
then.
baby dog is called a puppy.
Yes, a baby dog is called a puppy. And number 5?
The mane of
The mane of a lion.
a lion is found around its head.
Yeah. I would say that's right. The mane of a lion is found around its head and neck.
Yeah.
So male lions have this big mane, which is...
But girl lions don't have any.
That's right, they don't. Yeah, it's just the male lions who have them to make themselves look very impressive to the female lions who think they look wonderful if they've got a really big, impressive mane.
We'll marry them.
Yeah.
How do they marry some lions?
How do lions marry each other?
Yeah.
Well, they don't. They don't get married. As far as I know, they don't have wedding ceremonies. The concept doesn't exist in the world of lions.
Oh, so they just see each other and they get together?
Yeah, that's it basically, yeah. Yeah. It's complicated. The Society of Lions has slightly a different culture to the Society of Humans, but you've basically got it there, yeah, that's the basics of it. Right, part 4, odd one out. You understand what that means?
Yes.
Of course you do.
It's bark.
Okay, so choose the word in each group that doesn't belong.
Yeah.
So with the first one, we've got
Fur,
yeah,
feather,
yeah.
fin, and bark. It's bark.
Why is it bark?
Because bark, it's a thing we find on trees.
Yes. It's a thing we find on trees, so the surface of trees is covered in bark.
I can't see.
Sorry. But also bark, the word bark is associated with some animals.
Okay.
Woof, woof.
Mm.
Dogs bark, don't they? You've got...
And here it's cow. So there's
Okay.
cow, whale, dolphin, shark, and it's, well, kind of, we need to find them, yeah.
The odd
It's
one out.
animals. It's animals in the water,
Yeah.
and cows don't live in the water.
No.
So it's cow, the odd one.
Yeah, cow is the odd one out for the next group. Cow, whale, dolphin, shark. Cows don't live in the water. I mean, I've never seen a cow in the water, but I'm
Yeah.
assuming that they wouldn't do very well.
Yeah.
Number 3, antlers, horns, wings, hooves.
Well, it's hooves.
It's hooves. Is it?
I think so.
It's not really.
Wings,
It's not.
wings.
Wings. Because...
Well, it's a thing we fly with.
Exactly. Antlers, horns, hooves. These are all things that you would find on the same animals.
Yeah.
So like deer, they have antlers and hooves. It's not entirely clear, this one, but I would say it is wings, because wings are on birds, and antlers, horns and hooves are on like mammals like horses,
Yeah.
sheep, goats,
Yeah.
deer.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Number 4, hive, nest, den, web.
Oh, that's not easy.
What is a hive? Do you know?
It's where bees live.
Yes. A nest?
It's where, well, there's none.
Well, what is a nest?
A nest is where birds live.
Birds, yeah. And a den, do you know what that is?
It's where kind of deers live.
Deer? Deer could live in a den, or lions
Yeah.
live in a den. We say a lion's den. And a web?
It's where spiders live.
Normally just one spider. So the web is the odd one out. First of all, it's for spiders, and the others are for different animals. That's not why it's the odd one out. The reason it's the odd one out is because hive, nest and den, these are where you find large groups of animals living together.
Yeah.
But web is normally just one spider.
Yeah.
Okay, round 2. Animal vocabulary quiz. Round 2. Part 1, multiple choice. What do you call animals that are active at night? Do you know? Are they nocturnal, diurnal, arboreal, or aquatic? Ooh.
Nocturnal.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's really impressive. How old are you again?
6 years old.
Yeah. Nocturnal animals, animals that come out at night. Diurnal, they come out in the day. Arboreal, what on earth? I'm not even sure about that one myself. They live in trees, of course. Arbre, like in French, arbre, arboreal. They live in trees. Aquatic, they live in...
The sea.
Yeah. Or is it just the sea or all water?
Or the river, or the where we visit.
Well, like a lake?
No, where we see them in bowls.
Oh, you mean in an aquarium?
Yes.
Yeah, I suppose so. What's the name for a baby horse? Do you know?
It's
Is it a foal, a calf, a kitten, or a chick?
a foal.
Yes. Well done. Really good. A foal is a baby horse. Calf could be a baby cow.
Yeah.
Kitten.
Is a baby cat.
Chick.
It's a baby chicken.
Yes. Baby bird. A lot of... chick. Chick is definitely a baby chicken. Yeah. Third. Which of these animals is a carnivore? Remember what that one is? A carnivore?
No.
They eat meat.
Okay.
Just eat meat. So, cow, lion, rabbit, sheep.
Lion.
Yes. 4. What do you call the tail feathers of a peacock? Do you know what a peacock is?
Yes.
Big bird, small bird?
Big bird.
Do you find them in the street or do you find them in parks?
In parks.
Special fancy parks or just normal parks?
Fancy parks.
Right. Do you know a particular park where you can find peacocks?
The zoo?
The zoo, yeah, for sure. And also castles.
Yes.
Like big castles often
yes.
have peacocks in their gardens. So the tail feathers of a peacock. Do you know what's impressive about the tail of a peacock?
Because, when it sees a female, it does this.
So
Opens its tail.
yeah. And puts on a big display to the female to say, look at me, I'm wonderful.
It's walking with its tail open.
Yeah. That's right, and it kind of shakes its tail around. That's right. So what do you call the tail feathers of a peacock? It's crest, plumage, scales, or fur?
Plumage.
I think I have to say it's the crest. Plumage is just the feathers and the way the feathers have different colours. So you can talk about the plumage of a bird is all of its feathers. Scales we know is like on a fish or a lizard. Fur we know is on a like a furry animal like a cat. But its crest, I'm pretty sure it's peacock crest. Let me just check. You know what? I'm wrong. The crest is actually what's on the head of the peacock. The little sort of pretty feathers on its head, and its plumage is the big impressive tail feathers. Well, we're all learning something this afternoon in the animal quiz. So, question 5. Which of these animals can hibernate? Do you know what hibernate means?
No.
It means they go to sleep for a very, very long time, a bit like you earlier today. So, which of these animals can hibernate? Do you want to say the animals?
Hedgehog. Camel.
Camel, yeah.
Giraffe. Dolphin. It's a hedgehog.
Yeah, it's the right answer. Yeah, little hedgehogs, they find their own a little nest, maybe in a hedge or something, in a pile of sticks.
And they go like they go in a
To a ball.
yes, and they have their spikes like this because when they sleep, maybe foxes can eat them, but when they have their spikes up, it can spike other things.
Yeah. I'm not sure they sleep in a ball. They definitely go into a ball to protect themselves from animals, like especially foxes.
Oh yes.
But they might curl up a little bit, but whether they go into a full ball is another thing. But yeah, no, you're right. Hedgehog, really common animal in England. Very cute little thing, covered in spikes.
And in my granny's and granddad's garden, sometimes in the night, there's some little hedgehogs.
Yeah, and they're so cute, aren't they?
Yeah.
Their little nose, little wet nose.
And there's sometimes squirrels.
Yeah, and how does Grandad feel about the squirrels?
Not really sure.
He doesn't like them. He thinks they're a pest,
Was it pest?
an annoying animal.
Yeah.
And because they come and eat all of the bird food,
Oh yes.
and they also raid the nests of birds and steal the egg, go in and steal things from them.
Oh no, that's not nice.
It's not nice. They steal eggs and things from bird nests.
So they eat the birds?
They eat the little baby birds, and they eat the birds' eggs as well.
Oh.
Yeah, that's why we're not such big fans of squirrels.
I'm not now at all a fan of squirrels.
Yeah, but
I do have a stuffy squirrel.
you got a little.
Gray stuffy squirrel.
You do, yes. It's a little cute squirrel toy. Yeah, they're cute though, aren't they? They're cute. You know the grey squirrels that we have in England?
Yeah.
They're all from America. Did you know that?
I don't know.
Yeah,
that.
the original squirrels that we used to have in England were all red. Little red ones, but they all got...
Yeah, but they all got scared of grey squirrels.
Yeah, they all...
Because grey squirrels are bigger than orange squirrels.
Exactly.
Or red squirrels.
Red squirrels, yeah. Okay. Part 2, match the animal to its sound, okay? So we've got the sounds here, bray, roar.
Bray.
Bray is the sound that a certain animal makes. Like that. Okay? Have you ever heard that sound before? Good.
I know what it is.
Bray
It's donkey.
is donkey. A donkey brays, the braying of a donkey. Okay. Roar.
It's a lion.
Yes, it's a lion. Croak.
It's wait. What's it? What's crow? Oh, frog.
Frog, and they say ribbit, 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 ribbit.
Moo. It's the cow.
Moo is what a cow does. They go
Meow,
and meow
meow. It's a cat.
is a cat. Exactly.
Woof, 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 woof.
You can do a really good horse sound. That's great. Give us another one. Yeah.
I
Okay.
was going to do that.
Yeah. Okay, part 3, and this is the penultimate part. Okay, so part 3. Penguins live in large groups called
I don't know.
it's a colony of penguins.
Oh.
Okay. 2. The long nose of an elephant is called
A trump.
trump.
I don't trumpet.
Trumpet.
I don't know.
You're close to the first one. Not a trump, but a trunk. Trunk.
Trunk, yes.
Yeah.
I said trumpet.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, but it's a music instrument.
Imagine if elephants had a trumpet on their nose.
That would be funny.
It would.
That would be.
They'd certainly be musical animals, that's for sure. But what would happen then is that elephants would have trumpets on their noses, and then us, humans, we would have trunks. We'd have to try and play trunks, because the elephants would have the trumpets, we'd have the trunks. And that wouldn't make jazz music sound very good, would it?
Oh no. And it would be the elephant who won.
They would win. They would win the music, all the music competitions.
Yeah.
Birds, number 3. Birds use their to eat and build nests.
The beak.
Beak is the right answer. Number 4. The soft, thick fur of a sheep is called...
The wool.
Exactly. You know...
Like the thing we knit with.
Exactly, the things we knit with. Who do you know who likes to knit?
Granny!
Yeah.
And she loves to cook.
Yeah.
And she's the best cooker.
Best cook.
Cook, yeah.
A cooker is a thing in the kitchen
Yeah,
that you
yeah.
use to cook with.
Yeah.
But yeah, she is an excellent cook. And what's your favourite thing that she cooks?
Lasagna.
And what about sweet things like little cakes, for example?
Bagel tart.
Yes, absolutely.
Bagel tart.
Bagel tart. So birds use their beaks. Yes, the soft, thick fur of a sheep is called wool. Insects, like butterflies, go through a life cycle called what?
No.
Oh, that's a difficult. Oh, is it metamorphosis?
Yes.
You know about metamorphosis from Messy Monster from Okido. Do you remember?
Yes. But I heard of the song.
There's the song Metamorphosis. I can't remember how it goes now.
Metamorphosis.
Called Metamorphosis. It is Metamorphosis, isn't it? Yes, Metamorphosis. That's a big word. Can you say it
Yeah.
again?
Metamorphosis.
It's one of those words with a PH in it.
Yes. And I did my spelling test of PH.
You did your spelling test of PH words.
Yes.
Was metamorphosis in there?
No.
You would have got it right though if it had been, because you know how to spell it. So they go through a life cycle called metamorphosis, which is what we were talking about earlier, which is where they go from an egg to a larvae or like a caterpillar, something like that.
Yeah.
Or
And then to a butterfly.
eventually, yeah, or other types of insect.
But they choose when they want to create their
Their, what do they call it? Pupa.
yeah, they choose when they want to do that.
They're like, I think I'll make my pupa now. Yeah, definitely. Sunday afternoon, feels like the right time.
But they can't talk like humans.
Do insects talk?
No.
What about bees?
Bzz, bzz, bzz.
They buzz, and you know what the bees do? They do little dances to each other, and they communicate by like. Yeah, that's right. If you actually put your ear close to a beehive,
Wait, that would be stinging me.
What if they do the little dance? Well, no. If you put your ear close to a beehive, they might not sting you.
Yeah, they would just big. Ow!
You don't want that to happen. But
I won't do that.
if you do it carefully and slowly, and you just put your ear up to the side of a beehive, you can hear all the music inside, and they. Part 4, true or false? Bats. You know what bats are?
Yes.
Bats are mammals. True or false? Mammals.
What are mammals?
Mammals are animals that, like humans, cats, dogs, dolphins, mice, sheep, cows.
But do bats have fingers like us?
Yeah, they do.
Okay, so it is a mammal.
And bats don't lay eggs. They have little babies.
True.
It's true. Bats are mammals. In fact, bats are pretty close to mice. They're like
Because it's flying mice.
in French. What do you,
I don't know how it's called.
something souris, chauve-souris.
Oh yes, chauve-souris.
But what does that mean directly?
Chauve-souris.
Chauve-souris, is that
Bat chauve-souris.
bald? It's a bald mouse. So in English it's a bat. In French it's a chauve-souris, which is directly translates as a bald mouse. But it's weird that in French they decided to call them bald mice when surely the interesting thing about them is the fact that they fly. Should be flying mouse, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
Not bald mouse.
Yeah.
It's like, what do we call these? Well, they don't have much hair. Bald mouse. Maybe we should include the fact that they fly, because that would be maybe the most interesting. Anyway, reptiles are warm-blooded animals.
Reptiles are what again?
Lizards, snakes.
No. False.
It's false, because they are...
Like lizards is cold-blooded.
Yes, so they have to sit in the sun to heat up.
Yeah.
Exactly. If they get all cold, they can't really move.
Like this.
So you're kind of frozen here. She's showing us what it looks like when a lizard gets frozen.
And then there's the sun, and then.
Yeah, they start to move when they've been in the sun for a while. Number 3, the largest land animal. The largest land animal is the African elephant.
No.
No?
It's the Indian.
It's the Indian elephant. It's
Yes.
the wrong answer. Sorry. The African is the largest animal. The Indian elephant is also a very large animal, but African elephants are larger.
Okay.
So, sorry, you dropped a point there, but overall it doesn't really matter because you're doing so well. A group of wolves is called a pack. Is this true or false?
Yes. True.
Yeah, we had this earlier. And number 5, octopuses have 3 hearts.
Not false.
False. An octopus's 3 hearts have highly different roles. One heart circulates blood around the body, while the other 2 pump it past the gills to pick up oxygen. Well, I did not know that they had 3 hearts. I knew they had 8
Tentacles.
tentacles, or otherwise known as legs sometimes,
Yeah.
but 3 hearts I didn't know.
Yeah, and they have their mouth under.
That's right. Yeah. She's currently pretending to be an octopus, going around eating things with a mouth in the middle of its body and its 8 tentacles.
That's the middle of the body.
Yeah, that's true.
The bottom of their body.
Yeah, it's the bottom. So they kind of eat through their bum, which is a bit weird, isn't it?
Yeah. Where do they...
Where do they do their poo?
Yeah.
I'm not sure, honestly. I've never investigated an octopus that closely. Which question should I ask Google?
Where do they...
Where do octopuses do their poo-poo? Where do octopuses or octopi?
Octopi, yeah.
Where do octopuses, I think is okay. Pussies do their poop in American English. People wanted to know, this is from Monterey Bay Aquarium, why does the giant Pacific octopus excretes waste through its siphon?
What's a siphon?
It's a funnel-like hole on the side of its mantle.
What's a mantle?
It's kind of like its body, really. As a result, its poop comes out as a long noodle-like strand. So it's kind of got like a little tube or hole in the side, and it just sticks out like a noodle. Comes out like a noodle, like a green noodle. Well, this is a very disgusting way to end this episode. Congratulations, you did really well. I don't know how many points you got, but you got loads. So good for you. How do you feel at this stage?
Good.
Okay, just casual, just another day in the successful life of you, isn't it, really? Just, answering questions about animals, even when you got a blocked up nose. All right. Anything else? Okay, if you could be an animal, which animal would you be?
The horse.
Really? But not a unicorn?
Unicorns don't exist.
You used to be obsessed with unicorns, and now it's just, unicorns don't exist, don't be silly. What about Father Christmas?
Don't exist.
It doesn't exist. When did you become so cynical?
Tooth fairy doesn't exist.
Tooth fairy doesn't exist. All right.
And the titty fairy doesn't exist.
Okay.
But in England, everyone when we were in Granny and Granddad's, everyone was at the table, and
What?
I don't understand. My titty was in the ground. Everyone was at the table. We were eating, and after our lunch, I looked in there, and it was pearls. How can someone do that?
Okay, so you're talking about your tétine, which is in French, the French word for a dummy or a pacifier, the thing that little kids put in their mouths to relax them and help them sleep, right? In French, it's a tétine. In English, we call it a dummy, right?
Or a pacifier.
Or a pacifier. And the thing is that kids get very attached to them, and there comes a point where the child gets to a certain age and you think, well, they shouldn't really have a dummy anymore.
Yeah, but now I saw in the street a girl who was bigger than me, and she had a titty in her mouth.
That's not really great, though, is it? I mean, you shouldn't have a pacifier
For that long.
No, you shouldn't really.
Because it makes your teeth go like forwards.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But for a long time, it really makes your teeth go forward, but not for a long time. It doesn't really.
Okay.
But it's bad for you still.
So anyway, it can be difficult to separate a pacifier from the child, because the child gets very upset. Yeah. And so what we did is we had a special ceremony where we buried your tétine in the garden, and then said that the tétine fairy would come and take it away and replace it with a gift.
Yeah, and it was pearls.
And you got some pearls, some beads that you could use to make bracelets and necklaces. And so you buried it in the ground, and then had lunch, went back outside, and there was this little gift sitting on the grass.
Yes, but everyone was on the table, so how can someone do that?
It's a mystery, isn't it?
No, but Daddy really told me.
Maybe, sorry to spoil the magic, but maybe when you weren't looking, someone popped outside and told the tétine fairy.
No, but the tétine fairy doesn't exist.
No, you're right. Someone must have popped outside when you weren't looking. Maybe we distracted you, and then we put the little box of pearls, of beads, in the spot where you buried your pacifier. And it was a nice surprise for you, and it worked because you weren't bothered about losing your pacifier, and you were just happy to get your little present, weren't you? Mm. Yeah.
But I thought it was going to be a toy. When I was little, I loved unicorns, so I thought it was going to be a unicorn.
Like an actual unicorn?
No, not an actual one. Just a toy. You know, the one that that's Granny and Granddad and you and Mummy don't like?
Yeah, the one that makes all that noise.
Yeah. But I still like unicorns.
But you prefer horses, really,
yes.
No? Yeah, okay. Okay, why do you love horses so much?
Because they exist.
Yeah, but hedgehogs exist, but you're not so mad about them.
No.
No. Okay. It's not just that they exist.
It's just because they're a bit similar of the unicorn because it's just you remove their horn and then it's a horse.
Yeah, that's right. And they're also beautiful, wonderful, magnificent animals, aren't they?
And when they do,
When they rear up on their back legs
it's so pretty.
and they go...
Like because in Spirit, the film Spirit, you know the how do we call it? Before the start the film.
Oh, in the opening titles of the TV series or film, Spirit.
She does. She gallops on Sophia. Sophia is on Spirit, and when there's the ledge.
A ledge, like a cliff top.
Yeah.
She goes up on her back legs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a boy.
Spirit's a boy?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Great. Thanks so much for doing this episode.
I want to say bye-bye.
Okay, you can do that.
Bye-bye. I hope you have a lovely Christmas.
This might not go up before Christmas. It might go up after Christmas.
Oh.
Yeah, sorry. You can say, I hope you had a lovely Christmas.
I hope you had a lovely Christmas.
And a wonderful New Year.
And a wonderful New Year. And a wonderful Boxing Day.
Right. Yes. Okay.
Bye-bye. And
everybody.
thank you for listening to us.
So there you go. Thank you again to my daughter for taking part in this episode. I hope you all enjoyed listening to that and that you learned a thing or two about animals and the vocabulary we use to describe them. I wonder how many of the questions you got right. Did you beat my daughter? Now, I have to say I'm very impressed by her vocabulary. Perhaps I can get her back on the podcast again at some point for another vocabulary quiz because I think this was very nice and a good way to teach you some English words on a specific topic. Actually, we didn't finish the full quiz. I have another couple of rounds of questions with answers that we could do together another time perhaps. So there might be animal vocabulary quiz too, or maybe a vocab quiz about something else. Now, vocabulary recap. What I'm going to do now is recap a lot of the vocabulary that you heard there in that quiz to make sure you've got it. So I'm going to do a vocabulary review. So there are over 60 items of vocabulary here in my list to recap. So plenty to learn. I'll try to keep it fairly quick here because obviously 60 items, as you know, could take me ages, but I'm going to do this really quickly as much as I can. So I'll try and keep it brief so this doesn't go on forever. Of course, you know some of the things already, right? I'm sure that you know a lot of the words and things already, but do you know them all? So, first of all, do you remember those questions from the start of the episode? So the first question is, what does a male lion have around its neck? The answer is a mane, a lion's mane. What kind of feet does a deer or horse have? Well, they have hooves. So that's one hoof and two hooves. See, the plural is spelt H-O-O-V-E-S. Singular is H-O-O-F. Plural H-O-O-V-E-S. So hooves. What kind of animal is a frog or a newt? Well, that is an amphibian. Am with a M sound. Amphibian. What sound does a frog make? Well, frogs croak. Or they say ribbit. Ribbit, ribbit, ribbit. That's what frogs say in English. They say ribbit. But otherwise you could say that they croak, right? A croak is that sound, that kind of sound. Other animals croak as well, but certainly frogs croak or they actually say ribbit. A bit like the way dogs bark, but in English they say woof. So where do wolves, foxes and lions sleep? Well, they live and sleep in a den. Okay, we'll come back to that word later. What about bees? Where do we keep bees? Well, we keep them in a beehive where we get honey and stuff. What do snakes and fish have on their skin? They have scales. And what do you call animals that come out at night? They are nocturnal. So that was just a sample of some of the vocab that's going to come up in this list. I thought that I would give you the answers to those questions that I asked you at the beginning. So now let me recap all of that stuff with you as quickly as possible. Check the episode PDF for the vocabulary list and also some vocabulary memory quiz questions afterwards to help you check you've understood it all. So the vocab review. Here's a recap of the animal vocab in the episode. First of all, then, we have the different types of animals, right? We've got mammals, reptiles, birds, and invertebrates, amphibians, and fish. Okay, so mammals then, mammals, the characteristics of mammals, that they are warm-blooded vertebrates. Vertebrates means that they have a backbone, they have a skeleton. So mammals are warm-blooded vertebrates, animals with a skeleton. Usually they have hair or fur on their bodies at some stage of their life, with some exceptions, mainly those being whales and dolphins that don't have hair or fur. Female mammals produce milk to feed their young via mammary glands. Mammals typically give birth to live young, so they give birth to babies, except monotremes, that's another classification of animal, like platypuses and echidnas, which lay eggs. So platypuses are extraordinary animals. They're mammals, but they have a beak and they lay eggs. So absolutely weird things. Echidnas are sort of like spiky porcupine anteaters, I think. They lay eggs as well, but most mammals give birth to live young babies. Examples of mammals include humans, lions, dolphins, and bats. And in terms of identification, ID, just check their passport. That's probably the best way. You say, oh, mammal, okay, fine. No, in terms of identification, just look for fur or hair and note if the animal nurtures its young with milk. That's how you work it out. Are you a mammal? So you've got fur, hair, okay, check. Breastfeeding baby, fine. Yeah, okay. You can come into the mammal park. I don't know what that is. Reptiles, I think you know. Their characteristics are they're cold-blooded vertebrates. They have scaly, dry skin. They lay soft-shelled eggs, although some of them give birth to live young. Most of them lay eggs, soft-shelled eggs, and they breathe through lungs. Examples include snakes, lizards, turtles, and crocodiles. In terms of identification, check for scales on the skin, cold-blooded behaviour, like, for example, stealing someone's girlfriend or just general James Bond stuff, cold-blooded behaviour. I don't know what cold-blooded behaviour, I suppose, means. Warming themselves in the sunshine, and egg-laying in most cases. Birds, then. I mean, I think you know what birds are, right? Warm-blooded vertebrates. They have feathers and wings. Almost always. They always have feathers, don't they? And wings. They lay hard-shelled eggs. Most of them can fly with their wings, although some birds notably are flightless, including ostriches, penguins, and others. Emu, I think. Examples include sparrows, eagles, parrots, and flamingos. In terms of identification, look for feathers and a beak and wings. A beak, that's the hard part on the front of their head. Invertebrates, this is, I think, a very large category of animal. They don't have a backbone. They often have exoskeletons. These are skeletons on the outside, external skeletons, like insects. And they are found in diverse environments. They're found in all sorts of different environments, on the land, in the water. Examples are insects, spiders, octopuses, snails, and jellyfish. In terms of identifying them, look for a lack of a backbone and a wide variety of body structures. Basically, if it's not one of the other types of animal, it's an invertebrate. Fifth is amphibians. They are cold-blooded vertebrates, so they've got a backbone, cold-blooded like reptiles. The thing about amphibians is they live in the water and out of the water. So part of their life is lived in the water as larvae, for example. Larvae, this is like a early stage in the animal's development. They might go from being an egg to being a larvae to being a fully grown adult. So part of their life is lived in the water, normally as larvae, and then another part is lived on land when they're adults. Their skin is moist, meaning slightly wet, permeable skin, which means that things can pass through it, for gas exchange, and they lay eggs in water. Examples are frogs, newts, which are a bit like frogs but sort of look a bit more like reptiles, and salamanders, which are like large newts, I think, really. In terms of identification, look for moist skin, a life cycle involving water, and eggs laid in aquatic environments. Then we have fish, of course. They are cold-blooded, they're vertebrates, they live in water, they breathe through gills. Gills are those things that fish use to breathe with, right? They're kind of slits behind the head where the water passes through, and that's how they oxygenate themselves. They have fins for movement. These are the things they flap, which help them to move through the water. Most fish lay eggs, although some of them give birth to live young. Examples include obviously trout, sharks, clownfish, Nemo from Finding Nemo. In terms of identification, look for the presence of gills, crucially, and fins, and a water-based habitat. Right. Now, next thing is we're going to look at the different animals that were mentioned in the episode, right? So let's play a guessing game for this part. I'll describe an animal and you have to tell me what it is. Now, it's easier if you're looking at the PDF because you'll be able to see the animals I'm talking about, but you don't need to be looking at the PDF. You can just listen to my descriptions and try and tell me which animals I'm talking about. So let's have a look at have a look at a few different animal. Let's have a look at a few different types of animal, and you can tell me which ones they are. Okay, so right, this first animal, it lives in the water and it's a mammal, which already narrows it down quite a lot. They're said to be very intelligent. They have normally kind of grey skin. They have a kind of a snout, an extended snout. They look like they're smiling, and they can do incredible tricks. And they are not whales, but they're similar to whales. So they breathe through a blowhole on the top of their head. It is, of course, a dolphin. Yes. Next animal. It's an amphibian. They go ribbit, ribbit, ribbit. They live in ponds and they jump. They've got these jumpy kind of legs, and they swim very well, but they also live on the surface, and they kind of catch flies by eating them. They catch flies with their tongue, which is very impressive. In some places, like in the rainforest, these things secrete a kind of dangerous poison, which can be used to poison your enemies. And some of the stuff that they excrete can be sort of ingested to have some sort of incredible psychedelic experience, I think. I'm talking, of course, about frogs. So that's a frog. The next is a bird, a nocturnal bird with big eyes. They fly very quietly in order to catch their prey, and they appear in Harry Potter stories. Typically, they can move their head. People say they can move their head all the way round. It's not true. They can look far to the left and right, but they can't look all the way around. That's ridiculous. But yes, I'm talking about the owls, or an owl. Next, cold-blooded animal. If you're on holiday in a hot place, you might see them running along the floor or climbing up a wall. And if you try to catch one, they will drop their tail. The tail can come off. It's a defense mechanism. I'm talking about lizards, of course. The next animal is quite a large mammal, which is incredibly well adapted to live in the desert. I think you know what I'm talking about. For some cultures, these animals are extremely important, central part of their culture. They can walk through the desert because they've got these sort of hooves that have pads on, so they can walk on the sand without sinking in. And famously, they're able to live for a very long time without drinking because they have this hump on their back, which allows them to store lots of, I guess it's fat, to prevent them from getting dehydrated. They are camels, of course. A camel, I'm talking about camels. Next animal. These are mammals which are used by humans a lot, and we keep them on farms, so they're farmyard animals, and we use them for milk, for their meat. We use them for leather, right, the skin. and probably a lot of other things. They are, of course, cows, and they go moo, moo, like that. Cows. And is this the last animal in my list? No, it's not. So the next one is these are the largest animals on Earth. They live in the water. Yes, they are mammals. They have a blowhole at the top, so they breathe the air in and then swim down into the water and do all their things. They are, of course, whales. A whale. The one in the picture is a humpback whale. Next is another large marine animal, the largest fish in the world. And Steven Spielberg made a film about one of them once. It was called Jaws. And these are large fish, very incredible animals that are almost perfectly evolved. They're like they've been the way they are for millions of years because they are just perfect, basically. Eating machines, they swim through the water very efficiently, and they can hunt and catch their prey. And if one bites you, then good luck, basically. They are sharks, of course. I'm talking about sharks. And then from sharks to something much, much more cute and wholesome. If you met one of these, you wouldn't be worried. They appear in my parents' garden, apparently, according to my daughter. Lovely little things with a lovely wet nose and spikes all over their body. And they appear in your garden, and they eat slugs and snails and things like that. They nest in hedges, and if they are threatened, they roll themselves into a ball of spikes. It is, of course, a hedgehog. Okay, and then finally, a famous animal. You find them in Africa, very tall and an incredibly long neck, extraordinarily long neck. It is the giraffe. Yes. Okay, so that was the animal quiz. I mean, not the animal quiz. That was the animal quiz. Which animals was I talking about? There you go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 animals that we had there. The dolphin, the frog, owl, lizard, cow, whale, shark, hedgehog, camel and giraffe. Those were all mentioned in the conversation. What about where animals live? Can you tell me where these animals live? So where do bees live? They live in a hive, or at least a hive is the name for the thing that us humans make for bees, so that we can then collect their honey. That bees live in a hive. Otherwise, I guess you could talk about a bee's nest. Birds, of course, live in a nest, don't they? A spider, what does a spider build? A spider builds a web. And wolves, lions, foxes and other animals might live in one of these. It's like, could be a little hole in the ground or a covered area. It's a den. Right, a den. So we had a hive, a nest, a web and a den. Let me talk a little bit more about a den and what that is. So a description of a den. A den is a sheltered space used by animals for resting, hiding or raising their young. Common inhabitants of a den would be foxes, wolves, bears and lions. They can be found in caves, in burrows, that's areas that have been dug into the ground, or they are dug into the ground. They provide protection and warmth. Right, animal body parts. So, what do fish have? They use them to swim in the water. They flap them, and it helps the fish to move in the water. Of course, that is a fin or fins. So if you are in a Steven Spielberg film and you're swimming in the water and then suddenly da-da, da-da, dun 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 da 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 da, and you see something coming through you see something appearing on the surface of the water. It's a shark's fin. Okay, birds. What do birds have? They use them to fly. It's of course wings. What do birds like eagles and owls and hawks and so on? What do they have? What kind of feet do they have? These claws that they could use to grab their prey. Right, they're kind of very spiky, sharp claws. We call them talons. Talons, Talons. The next thing is, what about deer? They have these magnificent, hard, kind of like horns on their head. You can think of reindeer at Christmas time. Reindeer have these sort of sharp horns on their head that grow out in these large structures, we call these antlers. Antlers. A-N-T-L-E-R-S. Antlers. So those feet that deer, horses have, cows have them as well. These are hooves, as I said before, a hoof or several hooves, right? What does a kangaroo have? A kangaroo is a marsupial, and these marsupials have this certain feature. It's like a little thing that they can keep their babies in. The babies can stay warm and protected in there, and they can feed on milk in there as well. It's called a pouch. A pouch. And as I said at the beginning, a lion, what do we call that majestic looking hair that a male lion has? It's a mane, M-A-N-E. Birds, some birds have feathers on the top of their head, which look fantastic. It's like a row of feathers that go over the top of the head and stick up. That would be called a crest. And elephants, what do elephants have? Imagine this, it's like having a nose. It's like a nose. Imagine if your nose was long and had a hand at the end or a finger at the end of it. A cross between a nose and an arm with a finger on the end. It's, of course, a trunk, an elephant's trunk. And then a bird, what does a bird have for its mouth? It's like hard. They use it to peck things with. It is a beak or bill as well sometimes. Okay, all right then. Next, let's move on to the next part of the quiz. So, covering an animal's body, different things that cover animals' bodies. Okay, so what do birds have all over their bodies? I think almost all birds have these. What are birds covered with? They use them to fly and keep warm and so on. They are, of course, feathers, otherwise known as plumage, right? Feathers, that's a countable noun. Plumage is an uncountable noun. Look at the beautiful plumage of this bird. They've got fantastic plumage. Dogs, cats, mammals are covered in this. I mean, humans have hair on the top of their head, most of the time, depending on the person. But animals are covered in hair, and it can be nice if you're with your dog or cat. You can stroke your pet, and it's nice to rub your hand over their hair. It's called fur, of course, fur. And then what about a snail or a tortoise or a crab, for example? They have this hard thing that they use as a home in some cases or as a form of defence. It is, of course, a shell. And then fish have got these all over their bodies. Snakes have got them on their bodies as well. They are scales. So we talk about scaly skin or scales. So if you're going to eat some fish, you need to remove the scales first, or you often find scales all over the skin. Okay. And then what about sheep? What are sheep covered in? We use it and turn it into sweaters and hats and things like that. Scarves, gloves. It is wool, of course. Wool. Yes. Okay. Let's carry on. So we had feathers, plumage, fur, shell, scales and wool. Now, groups of animals. So at this point, let me just keep going. I'm going to go really quickly now, as quickly as I can here. So we've got a pack of animals. A pack of animals, this is a group of animals that live, hunt or travel together, often with some sort of social structure, like a hierarchical structure. For example, wolves, wild dogs, coyotes, hyenas, they go around in packs. A pack of wolves, a pack of dogs. That's a pack. Number 37 in my list of 60 words is the word herd, a herd of animals. A herd is a large group of animals that live and move together, often for grazing or protection. So you can imagine a big group of like herbivores, animals that eat grass and things and crops. A big group of them. So we have a herd of elephants, herd of cattle, meaning cows, a herd of deer, a herd of bison, a herd of zebras. Okay, that's a herd. A pride is a pride of lions, and this is just a word that's only used for lions. So a pride of lions is a social group of lions, typically consisting of related females, their offspring, and a few adult males. So a pride of lions. A swarm would be a swarm of insects, right? A large group of insects moving together, often for migration or feeding. So we talk about a swarm of bees, a swarm of locusts. Locusts are those ones that will arrive in fields and eat all of the crops in a field and completely devastate crops in farmland. That's locusts. I think they're in the Bible as well. There's a plague of locusts which sweeps in. Ants can come in swarms, and mosquitoes. What a dreadful thought! A swarm of mosquitoes coming in from the marshlands or something. Horrendous. Also a pod. So yeah, a pod. Animals have pods. They have podcasts as well. Apparently they don't. Imagine if animals had podcasts. Woof 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 woof. Woof 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 woof. Ow! Wow, that canine podcast is fascinating, isn't it? Or if your dog is a bit upset, just put on the latest dog podcast and just let them chill out and listen to it. No, that's not what I'm talking. What am I talking about? A pod is a social group of aquatic mammals. Mammals that live in the water, go around in pods for protection, for cooperation. So we talk about a pod of dolphins and a pod of whales, like a pod of orcas, killer whales, or a pod of sperm whales. So pods of dolphins and whales, sometimes seals as well. Seals are those mammals they're a bit like the dogs of the ocean. Does that make sense? Look a little bit like dogs. They've got whiskers, but they have flippers, and they're covered in fur. Those are seals. Yeah, seals. They sometimes can be referred to as living in pods. A flock. What about a flock? This is a group of birds that travel or feed together. For example, a flock of sparrows, a flock of geese that are on the water or flying, a flock of starlings. These are little black birds that are very common in the UK, and sometimes you see them in murmurations. These are these incredible, huge, vast flocks of starlings all flying around in the evening time as the sun is going down, and they fly around. They look like a huge shoal of fish or something in the sky, and they make these incredible shapes. It's an amazing sight to see. That is a murmuration of starlings, huge flocks of little birds all flying around together. A flock of parrots, a flock of gulls or seagulls. Number 42 in the list is a school or shoal, and that would be a school of fish or shoal of fish, a group of fish swimming together, typically for protection or for coordinated movement, right? A school of fish, a shoal of fish. For example, a shoal of sardines or tuna or herring or mackerel or something, a large group of fish. Interesting that we call them a school of fish. For eating, animals that eat plants are called herbivores. Animals that eat plants and meat are called omnivores. And animals that eat meat are called carnivores, right? What about baby animals? Words for baby animals. What's the word for a baby dog? It is, of course, a puppy. What about the word for a baby cat? That is, yes, of course, a kitten. What about the word for a baby horse? Do you remember? It's a foal, F-O-A-L, foal. And baby cows, baby camels, baby dolphins, baby elephants, baby giraffes, baby hippopotamuses, baby deer, baby rhinoceroses, baby porpoises, baby whales, baby walruses, and baby seals tend to be called calves, a calf. C-A-L-F, okay? A calf. And then, there's another word here. It's 61 items of vocabulary, actually. And a bonus word is the word for a baby bird, and that would be a chick, right? Especially baby chickens. So a chick. Okay, what about animal sounds? And, bray, the bray of a what? The bray of a donkey, right? And they go ee-or, right? That's what donkeys say in English. What about roar? The roar of it's probably going to be a lion or a big cat. The roar of a lion, the roar of a tiger, the roar of a bear, maybe. So it's like some large aggressive animal would roar. A Tyrannosaurus Rex would roar. Croak, we've had. That would be a frog or a toad. Well, what other animals might croak? I gave you the answer. Some birds croak, don't they? Like a crow. A crow is a large black bird, and they kind of they croak as well, right? What do cows do? They go moo, moo. What do cats do? They go meow. What do dogs do? They bark and they say woof. Okay, all right. And then some miscellaneous words at the end. Animals that come out at night, that live at night, that do their stuff at night time. They sleep during the day, come out at night. They are nocturnal. Animals that are the other way around, they are out during the daytime and sleep at night. They are called diurnal animals. Animals that live in trees are arboreal. And of course, animals that live in the water are aquatic, right? What do some animals do during the colder months of the year, like bears, for example, or hedgehogs? They stay in a safe place and they sleep for a long time. So that is to hibernate. And then, of course, we had warm-blooded and cold-blooded animals as well. And that's the end of the list. But if you check the PDF, you'll see a vocab quiz, which you can use to test yourself. Okay, like which of these animals is a mammal? What is the primary characteristic of a bird? Is it scaly skin, feathers, gills, or an external skeleton? Of course, it's feathers, and so on and so forth. I'll let you check the vocab quiz yourself. There are answers there. You could use that to just, test that you've understood and remembered all the vocab. But that's the end of the episode. There you go. I thought we would, explore the world of animals in this episode. And I hope that you've enjoyed it and that you learnt a thing or two, and that you enjoyed listening to my lovely daughter, even if she did have a little bit of a cold when we were doing the episode. Hopefully that wasn't sort of disturbing for you at all to hear the occasional sniffle coming from her. She's much better now, of course, doing great, doing really well. So leave a comment for this episode to let us know how that was for you. Did you get more questions right than my daughter or not? Is your English better than a 6-year-old's or not? Now, this is no ordinary 6-year-old, of course, so don't feel bad if you didn't beat her. But hopefully she helped you to learn a few bits of vocabulary in this episode. Okay, thanks so much for listening to this one, and I will speak to you again very soon. But for now, it's just time for me to say goodbye. Bye, 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 bye.